Hi everyone and welcome back to Chess for Charity. In this video, I'm going to show you a cool puzzle where it's white to play and win. So take a second, look at this position. You have pieces on all the edges here, pretty interesting. And your job is to find out how you can win. Right? All these empty squares in the middle of the board, your job is to figure out how to convert this. Okay, while you're thinking about that, let me quickly encourage you to subscribe if you have not yet already. Half of the income I earn in this channel goes directly to charity, so every like, every subscriber helps us out so much. Alright, let's get to it here. So let's just talk about this position. You have the queens are attacking each other. The queen's also looking at the rook here. Ideally this, if you could castle or something that'd work, but unfortunately your rook is on the wrong square. You really want to attack this king, but it seems like you can't do that because you have pieces hanging, things can interject. A lot of ways to think about this position. So let's start walking through it, thinking about it, working through it. So if you take this queen, which is maybe something you thought, they can simply take you back, and there's nothing really to do here for a win. You can move up, they'll move, and there's no way to win this position. Right? If you're thinking something like this to give mate, they can just keep checking you, right? And this is a draw, dead draw. Even material, nothing to be done. So if that move crossed your mind, not quite the right idea. Similarly, nothing really hanging here. It's a forcing move, I like the thought, but if you do this, it's just a straight out blunder. You're losing this, you're down. So what other moves do you maybe think about? Right? This square is covered, it's checking square, but it's covered by their queen. There's not really a good square you can move to. Maybe something like this is a thought to try to get here. But unfortunately, it doesn't work because rook g1 hits, and that's unpleasant. You have to move, and then what do? You don't take this. Instead, queen a2 is that hurts. Okay, you get the idea. So a move like that, like a quiet move, doesn't really work. So maybe you're thinking, oh, just move the king up, right? This might work. Let's work through these three options, right? That's probably what you thought right away. So king d2, is that good or bad? This move is not the winning move. We'll put a blunder on this. So why? Because the king can just go up. Sure, it can go to h2 or g2. It doesn't matter. And what do you do now? If your thought is to move up again, well, your queen is being attacked. So you'd be giving check, but you'll just get captured. Right? Hopefully you see what I mean. This is just taken. So you can't do that. So after a move like this, you don't really have anything. There's no fancy move. You can't go up the board, deflect a piece away, move with check, nothing like that. You can't even protect your queen, right? You're too far away. Okay, so this idea of king d2 not working out. Okay, what about king e2? Good or bad? Well, same idea. The king can go up the board, and what's the problem? Right? Go here. What's the problem? Go there. And you don't really have anything. Same concept. Okay, what's the issue? So what about king f2? So this is actually the correct move. So let's put a great move on this. Now one thing you'll notice is you can't go to g2 because the king is blocking that square by going to f2. But let's look at king h2. So in this position there are two options. King h2 or rook g1. Let's talk about the obvious one first. If the rook blocks, this is a straight out win. Now why is that? So the rook just left protection to the queen. So what does that mean? Just take this queen. And you could have taken the rook, of course, but this works. And look at the geometry here. This is mate. All these squares are covered. This queen is winning. Awesome. Okay, so they can't play rook g1 is what I'm showing. But what's wrong with king h2? Isn't this the same as what I was just sharing? What's the difference? Well, let's talk about it. So now there's one move here, one very cool move that works. Take a second, think about it if you want. It involves the rook. There's a hint for you. The move is rook h1. Look at that killer move. This move is incredible. It can be taken by the queen or the king. All right, let's look through both. If the king takes, you have a pretty simple mate, which is queen b1, check, And look at the way the geometry works out. They can move or they can block, it doesn't matter. And look what happens. Bang. Checkmate. So all of these pieces are seeing all of these squares, but not enough. Look at all the squares that they have sight on. Not enough to block out this killer checkmate. Pretty fascinating, right? The king is kind of dodging the bullets as well. So that's what happens when the king takes. What if the queen takes? What's wrong with this? This is just a free rook, right? Well, if the queen takes, look at this position. Ready? Queen takes g8. And surprisingly, black has nothing. They're just totally in the corner. They can't do anything. There's nothing that they can get out here and check with because the threat of mate is coming out. Sorry. So I'm getting too excited. So if you play queen takes g8, they have nothing. The computer's best move is queen e1, just because they want to prolong mate as long as possible. But there's nothing to do, right? Any other thing, move out here like I was showing, any of these squares, there's no point. Let's say you go here to get central. It's not going to work. Queen g3, just to show a sample idea. King goes in the corner, and this is mate. So even this position, all the way here, this position is a dead win for white. This is mate in 4 at most, right? This is the mate in 4 because the king is being pulled away. Hopefully you see the idea. Okay, you could even do one of these. Get the king back. Yeah, you get the idea. Okay. So let's go back. So if the king takes, it's a win. If the queen takes, it's a win. Now you might have asked yourself, well, wait a second. Did this whole thing work before? What was the difference? Well, let's talk about it. So let's just suppose I went king d2. Does this whole sequence still work that I was explaining? Well, let's talk about it again. Let's go, same idea. King h2. If you take this, or not take this, if you play there and they take, they only have one move. King takes or the queen takes. Which one works? The one move is king takes. And now there's not enough firepower here, right? Because before you had this sequence. You don't have it now. So this is not mate because they have all these squares, right? The king was blocking off everybody, if you recall. So keep that in mind. Let's use those arrows. And that's the key difference. And it makes sense now. Like if you think about it from a long-term point of view, if I'm going king f2, I'm restricting the king more. And generally speaking, it makes sense to make that move. Of course, it's a very general statement. But king f2 makes more sense because I'm restricting them. And this sequence, if the king were to take, it limits these squares, which is why this whole sequence would work. So pretty amazing. I think there's a lot to be learned here. I love the position, just the way it looks in the very beginning with these pieces on the edges. But yeah, that's it. It's a mate in 7 from this position. If you found it, fantastic job. If not, no worries. This is hopefully something you can learn from and get better. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye.